Well, Michael, it's good to see you.
Good to see you, Glenn.
Michael, when did you get started with your music?
Well, my start in music came out of Catholic grade school, which is right down here. And my father had been a jazz drummer, but my mother made him give it up because she didn't like him hanging out in cocktail lounges.
Right.
And he tried to teach me how to drum at 8, and I just couldn't keep a rhythm to save my soul.
Uh-huh.
But I was in the children's choir, and at age 13, my voice changed. So they kicked me out of a children's choir and put me in the adult choir. This is back in the days of the Latin Mass. And we sang some very good music. And we had really good musicians as organist and choir director. So I learned how to sing in parts. And then along came Peter, Paul and Mary, Dylan, the Beatles, and all of that. So at age 17, I'd had 6 months of piano lessons. And then we had to quit because we could only afford to have one. So my brother, who was going to be a priest, we let him take the lessons. But I used to take his music and play that. Because we grew up with pianos and we grew up without any TV around here. Back in the 50s, you couldn't pick up much here. And at age 17, I took up the guitar because, being a good Catholic boy, I was scared to death of girls, and that figured to be my only chance to ever have a girl. And that part turned out to be correct. And then the 60s came along, and I got influenced. I went up to Boston to college. They offered me the most money on scholarship, and it was the furthest from home. And to be in Boston in 67 and 68 and 69, there's a lot of good music around. The colleges were full of people with guitars, and you could learn a lot, you know, just watching your contemporaries. And I picked up influences from people like Eric Anderson and, of course, Bob Dylan, but principally for me at that point, John Fahey and Leo Kottke. I got exposed to their music quite young, and I got taught the three-finger pick, what a friend of mine used to call the pick, which is generally referred to as a Travis pick and doesn't have a name for it, which I can't recall.
Carter family?
Carter family pick. And Reb also is a finger picker. And from there, you know, I just started writing lots of instrumentals, all of which I've forgotten. I don't have a clue as to any of them. But while it was never the way that I principally made my living, music was always part of my life. There was a period of time after a few relationships founded on music foundered quite dramatically. There were periods of time when I actually tried to give up music. I actually spent a year not even listening to the car radio. And then the music just kind of came back and grabbed me. And I had suffered tremendously from stage fright. I performed for 13 years, not a lot, maybe 200 times in 13 years. And I was tired of throwing up, so I gave it up for 13 years. And then I hit late 40s, early 50s, and I said, okay, if this thing is going to defeat me, it's going to have to defeat me while I'm trying. So I had already been doing some choral work with various groups, starting when I went back to college. And I started going to open mics, and I was still petrified, but not quite as petrified. I no longer threw up. But my first open mic, you were allowed to play 3 songs. And after I played my Hawaiian guitar, because that way the quiver just goes into the music of the handshaking. But still, by the end of a second song, I was too nervous to even conceive of playing a third song. So I told a story instead, which I had never done before in my entire life, but I was much more scared of playing another song than I was of doing something I had never done before. And not too long after, I met Reb, and we started playing together. And it's always been a lot easier for me with the stage fright. You know, that's why I can sing in choruses and choirs. And as with Reb, she writes for music, and she's a classically trained soprano. And you know, we take turns singing lead, but mainly I just sing harmony, and I get sit back, hide behind my guitar, and play pretty licks. If that day my memory is working and I can remember how to play pretty licks.